Jesus wasn't just out here doing these miracles because he wanted to show off his power. He was trying to teach us something, that this man has sit here for 38 years analyzing his situation, looking at the negative side, that there was nobody to help him get into the water, complaining about the position they was in. And a lot of us are doing that right now. A lot of us are sitting right here on the blessing, and we have a tendency to look at the problems and difficulty and get used to the rhythm of what had been going on in his life for 38 years. He didn't expect anything to happen. He didn't expect God to do anything. This was just the norm. Don't get caught up in the norm where if you don't have a husband, don't expect to get a husband or a wife. Expect God to do something miraculous. And don't allow Satan to make you see yourself getting old and not having a husband, then you just go get you a man and don't really have a real husband at all. I'm telling you, God wants to do something miraculous. Same thing with your finances. If you're planning to buy a house and you figure it's going to take you 10 years, stop looking at time as to what you can do and start looking at what the words say. God said he wanted to supply all your needs according to his riches and glory of Christ Jesus. God said that he wished that you would prosper in all things, be in perfect health, even as your soul prospers. 3 John, 1st chapter, 2nd verse. I'm saying this to say you got to start seeing yourself according to what the word says about you. You're going to have to walk around, believe that you already received it even before you get it. And that moment when you do that, you touch that eternal power that comes out of heaven and releases what they call a miracle. This was a miracle that day, that all the man had to do was listen to what the words Jesus said and get his pallet and stand up and walk. He didn't have to stand in a long line. He didn't have to work overtime. He didn't have to go on being miserable for the rest of his life. I'm telling you something. God wants to do something miraculous in your life. Stop looking at the limitations you have. Stop only figuring out what you can do and understand that you are a child of God, and the same power that raised Jesus from the dead lives in you, and he wants to do something miraculous in your life. But the power is in you to speak the miracle and believe it and walk into it with faith. And at that moment, the eternal power of God goes out, and he says that he can take a day and turn it into, he can take 1,000 years and turn it into a day. Something like this man been sitting there all this time suffering and going through problems, and God just took the 38 years and turned it, Christ took the 38 years and turned it into one day. He wants to do something miraculous in your life. See, he told me, I want you to preach that message to them. Teach it, Pastor, so that their faith will get stronger. And if they'll just believe what this word said, they can have what it said. I tell you, you know, when, each time we get a victory, a person looks back at me and they say, really, Pastor? That's all I had to do was believe and the miracles were released? He said, absolutely. You know, think about those Hebrew boys that had to go into the furnace. And when they got ready to go in the furnace, they said, we know that God is able. Even if he doesn't do it, we know he's able. But they had enough faith to go on and go into the furnace. So when they came out of it, the only thing burned off was the ropes on their hands, and it looked like they saw the Son of God in the furnace with them. I'm telling you, God is with you everywhere you go. No matter what your furnace is right now, or how high Satan turns up the heat, God told me to tell you that he's going to control the thermostat, that he's going to always bring you out, that he would never, ever take his hand off of you. But here's the key to it. It's impossible to please him without faith.